Hi friends, it's Victor Costa, Peace, Love, and Muscles. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having an outstanding day. Thank you so much for the likes, the shares, and the subs. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of my community and ding the little bell on my screen so that you're alerted to new videos as they come up. So with that, let's talk a little bit about split routine versus full body routine. And if you don't mind, you guys know I don't do this scripted, right? This is all from the information that I've gathered and have been teaching for very many years. So I'm going to talk to you really in a conversational way. So try to relax and just listen to the conversation that I'm going to have now and let all the information just flow out of my mouth about the split routine versus the full body routine. So as you guys know, I grew up on the magazines just like maybe many of you did. I would actually cut out the pictures, put them on my wall. My parents thought I was insane. I would get bricks when they wouldn't let me have weights, and I would start lifting weights and everything, and I would read and absorb as much as I possibly could. The old champs, Sergio Oliva, Arnold, Frank Zane, Serge Nubret, I mean, you name it, and Joseph Wilkosh, Casey Viator, you guys know those names. They're really like the greats, right? Arnold, of course, and Franco and those guys. And so I would look at their routines in the magazines, and the magazines always had a typical split routine. A split routine, for many of you know this already because you're pros, is back and biceps day 1, chest and triceps day 2, shoulders and legs day 3, and then a day off for rest. And then you would do abs, of course, maybe every other day, and calves every other day, right? So that's kind of a traditional split routine, meaning you're splitting up the body parts. And I did that for years, and I liked it because I was working each body part thoroughly, right? I figured, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour and a half or 2 hours to work on just 2 body parts. I'm really going to put a lot of effort into those body parts. And so that's what I did. Now, I want to remind you guys that in the beginning, right, especially if you're a novice, just about anything works, right? I mean, you're stimulating the body, you're waking up the body, and especially if you're young, things seem to happen and recover. You recover very, very quickly, and most of you experience the maximum amount of gains as a natural weightlifter very early on when you first begin. In fact, some people experience rapid gains and then they kind of plateau, right? Because the body's kind of waking up. So just about everything in the beginning works. So you almost can't go wrong in the beginning with a routine. But getting back to the split routine, I liked it because I put a lot of effort into those body parts. I obviously had my favorite body parts, and I would want to create a lot of damage to my body. I would want to create a lot of consolidated work, pound on those body parts, make them really work them thoroughly, and then forget about them the next day, and then work on another group of body parts. And when I was young, I used to think of the body as a collection of body parts. I would think that I was a group of body parts, but I don't think of myself as a group of body parts these days, and I don't think of your body that way either. We are not a collection of body parts, right? We are a unit, an overall unit. And I used to think, because I'm not training the same muscle groups, that those muscle groups are kind of off limits, right? That they're not experiencing any trauma because I'm not working them. So if I did back and biceps on day 1, chest and triceps on day 2, I was in the clear. The back and biceps were healing from the day before. And that's how I used to think of the body. This group is healing, but I'm working the next group. And then the following day, the prior group is healing, and I'm working the next group. That's how I thought the body worked, but it really doesn't. It doesn't work that way. The energy that is used to feed those body parts, to heal those body parts, is kind of all coming from the same place, right? Just want to remind you that there's 2 types of trauma going on. There's this body part specific trauma that you're creating from the training, and then there's this overall unit trauma, or this draw, I call it, from the body to take care of what happened yesterday and also to take care of what's happening today. So I just want you guys to think of things differently. I don't want you to think of yourself as a collection of body parts or a group of separate body parts that, even though you're not working them today, that they're somehow off limits or not affected. They are affected by this overall unit trauma, or the draw, just from training, right? And so that said, I experienced a lot of gains from that, but remember, it was the only thing I was doing, and I was putting every ounce of energy into that. Then later on, I wanted to try a full body routine. And I remember doing my full body routine, but I remember putting the same amount of energy or work into the early sets, right? So I come to the gym, I'm just gonna do a full body routine, and I said to myself, oh my God, I still have legs and shoulders to do and back. I just did biceps, triceps, and chest and abs, and I'm done. I'm really ready to leave. I'm not equipped for this. I'm not in shape for this. I'm not ready for this. So I understood immediately that there was going to be this athletic component to a full body routine, a conditioning component that I didn't really need for my split routine. And that's at least how I felt. I was doing a lot of different things. I mean, I think of it like this. If I asked you to walk up a flight of stairs, you could do it. Now I'm going to ask you to walk up a flight of stairs with your hands over your head. All of a sudden it becomes a different thing for the body, right? And so obviously I was approaching the full body workout the wrong way. I was going at it way too hard, way too fast, and doing too much work per body part. I realized I was going to have to do this abridged version of my split routines and really do a smaller set of work, much less work per body part to get through this within an hour or an hour and a half. And so it took a little bit of time, right? Figuring out how to meter my energy, figuring out which body parts to do first, because I didn't want to go, in like a lion and out like a lamb. In other words, save my legs for last. And the next thing you know, I'm doing them, not really with the same amount of intensity, the same amount of energy, the same amount of push that I was in the beginning sets. So that's something I had to balance, right? I had to figure out how am I going to keep my energy for these body parts later on. So there was a little bit of this kind of approaching it in a different way, in a more metered way, rather than attacking the workout, because I had so many different things to do. Nevertheless, I figured, wow, there's something to this, because I'm actually creating less body part specific trauma, right? I'm not doing 15 sets of biceps, so I'm more likely to heal faster because I'm not creating so much damage, right, to my body. So maybe not tomorrow, but the following day, I'm going to be ready to do this again because I really only did 2 or 3 sets for biceps. So there was something to that, right? When you're doing the full body routine, you are creating this less body part specific trauma. That's the whole idea. And that you're going to recover from it quicker. And then the following or 2 days later, you're going to do it again, which gives you more opportunity to do the same exercises, more frequency. And that is really good for bodybuilding, right? Frequency matters. But at the same time, if you're not doing the other things right, like your nutrition and your sleep, you could still wind up overtraining and undoing what the full body routine is supposed to do. Now, guys, I hope you're following me because I'm trying to explain this the best way that I possibly could. You can kind of ruin the best routine, right? If you approach it with too much intensity, like I was, you could even mess up a full body routine by kind of going at it like it's the end of the world, right? Going at it like you're going to do too much exercises or too many exercises or too many sets per body part, really undoing what the whole thing is supposed to accomplish for you, which is this kind of stimulus rather than trauma or damage, right? It's supposed to give a little bit of stimulus and then you're going to recover from it. So I want to tell you that both things have merit. Now, I want to remind you also that a lot of times we use soreness as the hallmark for whether or not our body is healed. But that's not necessarily how the body works. You see, when we do back and biceps on day 1 on a split routine, we think that by the next time we do back and biceps, after the 4 or 5 days that pass, that they're going to be healed. That's not necessarily true because there's these other components to weightlifting and bodybuilding and fitness, which is sleep, rest, and nutrition. So just because my body isn't sore anymore doesn't mean those body parts are necessarily healed, right? And it's the same thing with the split routine. You could wind up, not being sore, but still you're training so frequently, but you're not really nourishing the body enough to keep up with all the activity. So I want to tell you that both things have their merits. The idea behind the split routine is that you can create a lot of good work in the muscles, and then you're not doing those body parts for another 3 or 4 or 5 days. The split routine, or the full body routine, is really supposed to be this stimulus, and then with the idea of more frequency, and then frequency is going to work. So the idea is that both can work well for you, but there's other components to it and other things that matter. So if you're training too hard with the full body routine, you're not going to heal within 2 days and not going to be ready for the next workout. And you could create the same quandary of having not enough progress by doing that as well. So the whole thing, guys, is a bit of a balancing act. Here's my idea. If you only have 3 hours a week to train, do the full body routine. Make sure you don't put a lot of body part specific trauma. You try to get that workout over within an hour and a half, so you're not putting too much draw on the overall body unit and sucking too much energy away and leaving too many calories on the gym floor. If you're doing the full body routine, you also want to be conscious of your healing. Like, even though you have so much time to just work on a couple of body parts, you could be creating so much trauma that even though you have to do those body parts within the next 4 days, that you still might not be healed. So bodybuilding is a game of not only finding the right routine, but it's finding out about how you heal specifically you, not me, not the magazines. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters is you. And so you have to measure what's the right amount of stimulus for the right amount of recovery. And again, we don't really want recovery. What we want is rebound. I have said this before, if you get the flu and you're down here and you recover, you haven't gotten any better or any more progress, right? You've just come back to even. And what we want is this thing to happen. We want this kind of rebound effect, right? Where we're getting better and better and better and stronger and bigger and all that other stuff. So there's a bit of a game, right, that's going on. And you have to meter your workouts. You have to really take good notes, both, emotionally, because you're putting out effort, right? And putting out effort also drains the body, right? It drains the body of energy. So I want you to be very, very aware of how much effort you're exerting, what weights you're using, how long you're staying in the gym, and also how many sets and reps you're doing. And then if you're not recovering, right, instead of going fast forward and hitting the pedal harder, pull back a little bit, do a few less sets, because again, the body, this is about healing. It's not so much about trauma. So I've canvassed both of these concepts. Both of them work. It depends on your lifestyle. It also depends on how you are approaching it. So obviously this is a long video. I'm always around to entertain questions and to clarify it. Sorry I spoke so fast, but I just wanted to get this all out. Peace, love, and muscles. Please take care of yourselves, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.